Hi guys, let me know if you can hear me, if my audio volume is okay and everything. Welcome, welcome. Wow, 2 likes already and 4 concurrent viewers. That's awesome. Figured tonight I would do a little bit of a combined sneak peek design session on the new turbines. These are going to be the metal ones. I'm leaning towards making them out of aluminum just because it's easy material to work with, and I've got a buddy who has a shop who can do the work. So I could make them out of steel too. I have another shop that I could use, but I'm not sure. I'll kind of gauge which way it's going to be the most economical and what makes the most sense. Aluminum doesn't rust. I don't have to worry about that. So the only thing really would be to make them strong enough that they'll be able to hold up to whatever we can throw at it. Let me know if my volume's good, guys. I haven't had anyone say anything yet. Eight. 8 concurrent viewers. Cool. Sorry, my allergies are acting up. I apologize. Oh, maybe you guys can't talk yet because it's not 5? No, that doesn't seem right. Somebody say hello in the live chat. Come on. Somebody has to be brave. Ten concurrent viewers. Somebody give me a hello. Let me know if I'm coming through okay. Hi, Sanjay. Is my volume okay? Other than me clearing my throat in an annoying manner. Hi, Les. How's it going? Welcome, everyone. So this is our July 15th live chat. Cool. My volume's good. That's awesome. I wanted to go over a few things tonight because over the last couple videos that I've done, I've been talking about strategies and where I was going, what I was going to be doing. And before, I had done a live session where I was doing some design work with the Kickstarter model and was putting that together live. I figured I might do a little bit of that tonight. So during those times, I'll be quiet and probably not talking much, just watching for questions you guys would have. It gives me a chance to take a break from talking all the time and trying to constantly come up with things to say, while at the same time giving you something to watch, a little bit of design and CAD work that I'm doing. And interspersed in there, I will, of course, be delivering some information for you. So I'm going to wait until a little bit after 5 to give people some time to join, because it is just 5 o'clock right now. You guys were the early birds. I will put up here our Patreon link. As always, thank you to anyone who is kind enough to support the efforts that I'm doing here on Patreon. And anything you're able to do to support that is wonderful. I apologize that outside today, working on the garden a little bit over lunch, and I guess it's that time of year, you know? Okay, so there's our Patreon link. I'm sorry, 11 concurrent viewers, 3 likes. And we are 5:01 p.m., so I'll go ahead and get started. Basically, over the last, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months, I've been racking my brain. What do I do to raise money? What would be the best avenue to approach this new business endeavor. How do I go about getting funds that I need? Oh, this is called Onshape. It says it up in the corner there, onshape.com. It's awesome. It's fully parametric CAD design, but it's all web enabled, so it is badass. I love it. Onshape is what I've done all my CAD work in for the past 2 years, and they were gracious enough to give me an educator license because I do educate young ones and work with school-age students, college and high school, to help them, even junior high, to help them learn CAD. It's a tough uphill battle, though. But Onshape, I love it. Onshape.com. If you want the plug here, there it is. That is what I use to do CAD work. It's all free if you want to do open source, but if you do anything that is proprietary, you'll have to either use an educator license if you qualify for an educator license, or purchase one of their paid subscriptions. So anyway, what you have here on the screen is just a little bit of eye candy. I'm going to be working through, I just began working through the new, what I would call the outdoor prototype, and this is going to be the beginning of that metal prototype that's outdoors. It's going to be outside 24/7 and in the elements, gathering information and data for us as we begin. So how do you get funding to do that, Chris, right? You guys are like, okay, did you win the lottery or something? No, I haven't won the lottery yet, but over the past 4 months, I have been doing a lot of thinking. COVID's great for giving you time to think. You know how they always say, no matter how bad a situation, there's always good things to come out of it if you open your mind up and you allow yourself to learn from the experience? Well, certainly during COVID, you have a lot of time to think. And I've been back and forth on, do I do a Kickstarter? If I did a Kickstarter, what would that be? What kind of a product or widget would I give to you guys that's, number one, worth it for you to buy it for $100 or $200, and not going to steal so much time away from me that I've got to dedicate the next 3 years to this darn Kickstarter project. So you'll remember my video I did, I don't know, what was it, 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago? It could have been 4 months ago, before COVID. I don't remember. But it was titled, It's Go Time for Harmony. And that video where I said it's go time for Harmony was where I really talked about wanting to do some kind of crowdfunding. I put up there in the inside of the video Kickstarter or Indiegogo as my two things that I was thinking of, but there's really a lot of crowdfunding sites out there. And recently, I learned of one that is pretty unique. It is called startengine.com. So, startengine.com is a fascinating site in that it's crowdfunding, but it's to not give away widgets like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, but rather you give away equity shares in your company. And they structure this crowdfunding site in a way that enables people like myself who aren't very familiar with how to crowdfund or how to do equity shares for my corporation to actually enable me to do that and give you, the supporters, the viewers, the people who are interested in this project and have been following me for 2 years, give you a chance to participate in that. So I am using this opportunity today to actually talk about some of those decisions that I've been working through and some of the things that I have decided over the past really 2-3 months. I knew 4 months ago or so when I did that It's Go Time that I wanted to do some kind of crowdfunding. I just didn't know what would be the best fit for Harmony and for the project. I know I also lost a few of you probably, you know, I won't say there were hurt feelings or bad feelings, but some people were upset that I was going towards these little desktop toy models, as they were calling them, and not pursuing the larger wind turbines. And I was torn by that discrepancy because I didn't want to redirect myself into making little desktop models or something that could be construed as a toy when the larger, goal was certainly not to give you desktop models. That's not the widget that I'm looking to ultimately get out there in the market. What I want to put out there in the market is, residential size and recreational size wind turbines. RV boating being probably the smallest ones that I would want to put out. Residential size being the majority of what it would be that we put out there. So, what have I been up to in the past 2 weeks since I did my last live stream? All right. I went out and I registered a new business, Harmony Turbines. So Harmony Turbines is now registered. I'm waiting to receive the paperwork back from the state giving me the okay to proceed with it, but it's going to be Harmony Turbines or Harmony Turbines LLC, and that represents the new entity that I fired up, because before, the work that I was doing was under my other LLC called Creating More. Creating More LLC is what I envisioned as an umbrella company, and I didn't want to do specific crowdfunding and specific equity shares for Creating More, because that's going to be a whole bunch of things. That company, I probably don't ever want to open up to the public and release shares for that or anything. I'm just going to do that with my own time, my own money, my own funding, and it'll be where I do my R&D and all kinds of research. But if I have a specific project like Harmony, like my wind turbines that have now been patented, and if you didn't ever catch it over the past month here, Harmony was granted its full patent several weeks back. I'm just actually waiting on receiving that from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office at this time. But for a specific project, it was best for me to spin up its own LLC or my own company for this specific project so that I can give equity shares of it. It's got a finite set of parameters where here's what we're inventing, here's what we're working on, here's the technology we're messing with, and here's what you're going to get if you invest in Harmony. Creating More is much more nebulous and far-reaching, and it may never turn into anything big, but that's fine. It is for me to tinker and play and do my work that I do. So, Harmony Turbines LLC is the new company that I started to do this work. And putting that in chat now, Harmony Turbines LLC is what we're doing this work under. So in a couple days, when I get all that paperwork back from the state, that is where I will be focusing the efforts for the next thing I'm about to talk about. I have, by the way, before I go on to the next thing, I've registered the EIN, I've done the docketing statement and the registration of new LLC corporations. So I've done it 3 times before, so I'm pretty familiar with how it goes, and it should just be a couple days before that is back, but everything is in place and the paperwork's been submitted. I've even registered harmonyturbines.com, so if you go to http harmonyturbines.com right now, you won't hit anything because I just registered it today, but in a few days I'll probably have that also pointing to the Harmony VAWT same page pretty much that harmonyvawt.com hits. So harmonyturbines.com is a thing. I shouldn't say it's live. It is is now registered. No content as of yet. I just did it today. So harmonyturbines.com does exist. It is registered to me and will be part of this LLC. So startengine.com. I mentioned it a little bit ago. It's like crowdfunding for equity shares in your company. I know, goodness, I can't even count how many people have asked over the past 2 years that you've been following my project if you could invest, how could you invest, how could you help? Well, startengine.com is where you're going to be able to help. So I'm probably going to open up the offering with convertible notes, because when you do a seed round, which is what we're after, it's your very first bit of funding that you do is a convertible note, and those convertible notes are then, after the first or the next large round of funding is received, it would trigger those convertible notes converting into actual equity for the company. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be opening up Harmony Turbines as a company that we're looking to receive funding from you, the public, the supporters, the people who believe in this and who understand what this could do for our world, what kind of paradigm shift we're really talking about. It will open it up to allow you guys to come on board, and I'll probably set the minimum amount that people can come on board to something like $200. Nothing extravagant, nothing high-end. Probably like $200 for, depends on what I set the share price at. Like if the shares are $5 a piece, then, you know, $200 would get you 40 shares. But those are inconsequential at this point. You know, I'll work with those numbers and figure out how I want to do it. What I'm really trying to do is I would like to get with this round of funding, if Start Engine is a good place to work with me and they're a good company, they seem to be quite knowledgeable in how to pull this off and how to help people get their seed capital started for their business. If our relationship works out well and they accept my project, then what I'd be looking to do is raise enough money with this initial seed round of funding that I could, number one, quit my job working on this full time, and number two, have enough funds to go to the next level with what I'm doing in this permanent outdoor prototype. Now, to that end, I've already submitted to our township, our local township here, the, I don't know what it's called. It's looking at the code and the variances and, oh, what do they call that? The ordinances. Let me see. Zoning ordinances. So it's going over all of their zoning ordinances for what it is that I would like to do. And when I contacted them, I explained everything. I said, here's what I'm after. I'd like to put a permanent wind turbine structure out in the front yard. And they kind of were like, front yard? But the front yard's really the only thing that gets good northwesterly wind for where I live. If I put it in the back, it would be spinning only 1% of the time, because the back only gets wind from like the southeast, and wind doesn't come from the southeast often. I mean, maybe a thunderstorm here and there blows in from the southeast, but most of the time the predominant wind is northwest. So I need to put it in the front yard. I've already started the process to ask them if I can get the variance or get permission to do that. If they come back and say no, I can then go to a hearing and try and push the issue, or we simply look at getting enough money with this seed round that I could put it up elsewhere. Now, I don't necessarily need to buy a piece of property to do that. I may have to just rent some space, or I may have to work out a deal of some kind, paying them a nominal fee to put it up somewhere. But at any rate, I may need extra money in the seed round for doing that if I don't get permission to put it in my front yard. And I'd say at this point they sounded pretty optimistic about it, but I'm not gonna hold my breath and put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak, hoping that I get permission to put the next prototype of Harmony out in the front yard. There's a lot of steps that we'll have to go through first. So it's not a showstopper if they say no. It's just a process that I have to work through. So that's already begun with the township. I've already started to fill out my paperwork on startengine.com and get things underway there. Let me read here. A few people have written things. Thank you, Sharian. Hopefully I'm not butchering your name too much. So you started doing your thesis. I had a couple people contact me about working on their thesis and things like that. I would be interested if you have done some work that you'd share with me. I'd love to read it. So please forward it to me. I would very, very much like to read what you wrote. And all I ever ask is that you guys cite me as the inventor and cite my work that I'm doing. And I'm totally cool with it for educational purposes, whatever you want to do. Here's my email address. harmonyvawt@gmail.com. BK, I like where you're thinking. If you're moving to Hawaii, you're going to have to get in line. I've literally got about 20 other people in front of you who want to be test subjects. So maybe I'll make that part of the startengine.com gives you some really, really cool advantages and different neat things that you can do. And one of them would be to allow higher end investors to actually secure a spot as potentially a beta tester in this case, or something like that. So yes, it may be possible to bump yourself up to the top of the list with an investment, and something along those lines would probably work out pretty well. I don't know if the lower end where I'm allowing investment to start is going to be probably around the the $200 mark. Then I'd say higher end investment, we're probably talking maybe just, I don't know, somewhere above 1,000. I don't know yet. It's pretty early and I have to start working through this process, but I would say if people invest somewhere in the range of $1,000 to $2,000, then I would think that would bump you right up to the top of the list for getting your very own beta version of Harmony. When we do this, I want to be clear here. StartEngine.com will help me get the seed money and allow me to get the first prototype built, build up a little bit of maybe a warehouse or something like that where we can start hiring a few employees. Maybe I'll get an engineer, maybe I'll get a full-time CAD person, a CNC person to run the CNC and water jet and stuff like that. I would not be looking to put dozens of these out there in the public. The first year or even 2 years of us doing this is going to be figuring out the problems, figuring out good solutions to those problems, and working out the bugs in the design. So we're talking very, very low volume. Most of it's going to be R&D and maybe a few beta sites out there that would be testing our products and helping to gather data in tandem with our site wherever we have it installed at 1 or 2 locations personally to monitor and watch how it performs in various conditions. So this isn't we get Start Engine going and suddenly I'm making hundreds of Harmony wind turbines. Please don't get that in your mind. This is going to be maybe like a 2-year process where we're working through getting the first few full-size residential 24/7. They're outside in the rain, in the wind, even in the winter. Having these turbines out there running and gathering data, getting performance data on them, and all of that stuff. So this seed funding, this seed round is going to be helping to generate the funds for that. I'm going to pause here and read a little bit more here. How about a trading? I'm not sure what you mean, David. Trading electricity for space. Can you describe in chat what you mean a little bit more about that? BK, that's great. If you're looking to actually help invest with something like this, I don't know how long you've been following. I believe I recognize you from, quite a while back, but I can't say how far back you go. That's awesome. I can't wait to get the campaign started on Start Engine, see what kind of enthusiasm we can generate as a community. I'm just under the 10,000 subscriber mark for my YouTube channel. So I think, yeah, BK, I think you've been here well over a year. I can't say it's been a full 2 years, but I think you've been quite early on. Some super old timers were following me right from the beginning. Thank you. I hope it changes a lot of things. I'd love to be I'd love to be interviewed by someone. I don't even know who, like who has radio talk shows or something, because I feel like we, the human race, is thinking about clean energy in such a backwards way. It's crazy to me. We put these massive 300-foot turbines up and put them out there all over the place where we don't live, because we think, oh, it's okay to put them where we don't live. Then we don't have to hear the constant horrible, horrible noise that they make day in and day out, 24/7, giving you a splitting headache, driving you crazy. If you had to live by those things, and some of you may, they would drive you insane. I mean, literally, you'd be certifiable after living next to one for a year, or even anywhere in the vicinity of one for a year, because they just are obnoxious with the amount of noise they make. And that's because we have our heads up our asses, guys. I mean, let's pop our heads out of our proverbial asses and start thinking about clean energy in the right way. Clean energy should be clean, and it should be friendly for our planet. And that means all inhabitants of the planet, not just humans. Okay? We've got dolphins, we've got whales, we've got all kinds of aquatic life that lives in the ocean that has hearing 10 times, 20 times more powerful than our hearing. And when we're putting these things out in the coast, out in the water, now all that infrasound, all that vibration is out there making hundreds and hundreds of square miles uninhabitable for thousands of mammals and marine life species, because now we're introducing all of this horrible noise and vibration and sound to their environment, and they have to move out of their hunting and fishing territories and try and find new places to live. Many of them just simply die because they're not able to go back home. They've been driven out of their home, and they're not finding what they need to sustain them out in the other places. Well, we're doing that on land, we're doing that in the ocean, and they're even looking at putting them up on, big, huge kites up in the air. It's insane to me why we're looking at this model as sustainable. Sustainability and green energy, clean energy, should be something that is clean and green for all inhabitants of our planet. It should be something that you, your family, and your kids can play right next to safely, and not be running away from it because it's giving you a headache, and not be, hating the day that you installed it in your backyard or wherever, because now it's just constantly driving you nuts. It should be something that you're pleased to look at and excited about what it's doing for your carbon footprint, reducing your energy bills, and it's not in any way annoying you at all. Because if it's not annoying you and your family and your children, then it's not going to be annoying wildlife either. It shouldn't be so big and massive and annoying that we want to put it out hundreds of miles away from us and put it into somebody else's backyard. By somebody else, I mean the other inhabitants of this planet. So, all right, I'll get off my soapbox. I know, and rightfully so, I do go into that little tirade each time I get on my live streams, because we are so screwed up in what we think clean energy should be. Why do you need this wire coming to your house, feeding you this stuff that is essential for life? It's just like water, it's just like air. Electricity for us in our modern day world is essential. We should be making it right here at our homes, or as much of it as we can within reason, right here locally. Then we insulate ourselves from, storms and issues that would otherwise knock the grid out, because we're generating our power right here locally, and we don't have to worry about it coming over that wire and then paying Siemens, GE, MedEd, PPL, all those companies the money that is really just generating profit hand over fist for those companies, and not doing us or our planet any good. All right, I'm going to stop and I'll read a few things here. Oh, David, I get what you're saying. So yes, and I've already talked to Masonic Villages here in E-Town. They were excited a year and a half, 2 years ago to put these up. I was just nowhere ready to hand them, one or two prototypes and say, here, let's put these up, because all I had at that point was some 3D printed plastic models, and that's not going to generate anything anyone wants. So yeah, there's already things in the works for me putting these new, like, full residential size models up. The Masonic Villages, I believe, would be one of the first installations that we do, because they agreed 2 years ago to be a beta test site for us. So as long as they don't have any changes that have happened here over the last 2 years and they're still willing to do it, I think we would move forward with them. Okay, BK, have you been up near any of those big, large turbines at all? I'd be curious what your thoughts are when you get up next to them and you hear those things. You know, I'm ashamed to say it, I have yet to be up close and personal with any wind turbines. I've seen some in the very, very far distance, but I have yet to be up close and personal, you know, within a mile of them. It would be neat to really get close and see what it is they're like being close to them. So one day I will. Hello, Omid. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming in from Iran. What do you mean, can I post the link for this chat, BK? Can I post my link? The link for this chat will be the live stream. Even after this goes away, it'll be a normal video that you can view and you can look back at all the comments, even your own comments that you made, anytime. Thank you, Sharian. Yeah, I would be very curious to see what it is you have written so far, because that'd be pretty neat. Oh, BK, yeah, you'll be able to share the stream. It'll be the normal URL. Let's see. It's just going to be probably the URL at the top of your screen there. Let me see. I can probably get it for you here in 1 second. Live. Okay, this should be it. This should be the live stream URL that you're using right now. Okay. So, at any rate, the funding, the seed funding that I'm talking about, that I'm looking at doing, is going to go toward, number one, allowing me to be home full-time working on this. And, you know, I make a good paycheck, but I'm not I'm not rolling in dough. So there will have to be a significant amount of money there for me to be able to quit my job and do this full-time. And then I would say, you know, a couple $100,000 would be great if I can have that for working on the prototypes, getting some equipment that we're going to need, certainly hiring out, not hiring out, but contracting with people who are going to be doing the installation. You know, there's going to be manufacturing and fabrication from machine shops, water jet fees. There's going to be, you know, cranes and stuff to pour the concrete slab and get the superstructure built to hold this. And of course, then the fabrication of the turbine scoops and everything, and the assembly and putting it out on site. So that's going to take some money, but not a scary amount of money. Definitely not a scary amount of money. You're allowed to generate all the way up to $1 million. It's like $1,074,000 through crowdfunding equity rounds. And they cap it off after that because of legislation or whatever. But that would be way, way more than I need for this initial round of funding. I wouldn't need anywhere near $1 million. It would be great, but I'm not going to hold my breath for something like that. If we get, you know, even a couple $100,000, that would allow me to do this. 300, 400,000 would most certainly allow me to do this. I guess if I were to put a number on it right here, right now, I'd say I would probably be going after about 400,000 here in this first seed round of funding. So it's well within the reach of the number of viewers that I have, the number of support that I've received. You know, that's, if you look at just 1,000 people backing the project, let let me do some simple, silly math here. 400,000. What am I doing? Wow, I can't even type. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, it's $400. Sorry it's late. I haven't had dinner yet. So $400 each. If 1,000 people put $400 into it, that would be 400,000. You're like, okay, I'm not investing in this guy. He can't even do simple math. Sorry. The brain is a little bit slow. Obviously, people are going to give, many people are going to give just the minimum $200. Some people may give more. But if on average we get 1,000 people giving $400, we're there. We hit our target. And that would be amazing, because then I quit my job and we move on to starting what I would call low volume manufacturing, and certainly a lot of heavy R&D and beta testing. One of the things, if I get enough money, that I would absolutely love to do is start tinkering with our own generator design. I have yet to talk to you guys about that, and one of these days soon I'm going to have to, because my patent's about to come out into the public. And the generator is absolutely phenomenal. I have in my patent for Harmony a proprietary generator design, all my own, that enables it to do some absolutely amazing things that aren't out there in the world right now today. It's going to use solid core coils, so it's going to generate an enormous amount of power compared to air coils, which most residential turbines have air coils in them. That's just, I showed a video long ago about what an air coil is. It's just basically copper coil wound around a hollow core, and I tried to pick up paper clips, or there were washers or something like that in my one video, and it was absolutely horrible. In fact, here, I'll show it to you. I'll show you that video, since I can do that. Woohoo! Let's change this to 50. And air coils are what most residential wind turbines use, because they can't get past the cogging effect. So I have a problem right now. My page is frozen. Oh, helps if I change it off of live. And we're back on 30, but that's okay. Wow, I have a lot of videos. Got like nearly 100 videos. That's awesome. Here we go. This little video. I'll turn the sound off so it's not annoying. But this is an air coil. What you're seeing right here, an air coil. There's no solid core in it. You see how it's barely picking up anything, but it's still using 5 amps of power. Notice that. 5 amps of power. I'll rewind it here so you can see. It's taking 5 amps of power, and it's barely lifting anything up. Now, we stick a solid core in there, put a solid core in, for the same 5 amps of power, you get like 100 times the amount of power. So, that same principle in reverse is how the generator will work. It's going to use solid core coils, so it's going to be able to produce a lot more power. The power density is going to be off the charts. But then you're like, okay, well that's great, Chris, but you're going to have a really bad cogging problem. The really cool part of my generator design eliminates the cogging. It'll eliminate the cogging, and Harmony will be able to start up in probably less than 1 mile an hour wind, believe it or not. I'm not going to sit here and make that claim, but I'm betting it's going to be pretty darn close to 1 mile an hour startup speed. Now, you're not going to generate any power at 1 mile an hour. Don't get me wrong. No one generates power at 1 mile an hour unless you're talking a turbine that's 1,000 feet tall and massive. But a residential sized turbine, nobody anywhere is generating power at 1 mile an hour. We will be able to start up and start spinning at somewhere close to 1 mile an hour. And then once it gets up into the, 5-6 miles an hour, then you would start seeing some power generation. But it's not magic here, people. It's a wind turbine that does amazing things, but not magic things. So you need wind. You need a windy area to make power, obviously. I can't make something out of nothing. It's not an over-unity wind turbine here. Let me take a pause and read a few things. Les, you were saying about manufactured cheaply. I'm looking back to see if you had another comment you were tying that to. Oh, yeah. Okay, you're just saying my test model, my first test model manufactured cheaply. Um, Probably not, because then I have to build the model all around the oil drum sizes that are out there, and no, I'm probably going to go with 3-foot scoops. Really, when you think about it, those oil drums, all they would replace is 8 scoops or 10 scoops, however many I put into this new outdoor model. Even if the scoops would cost me $1,000 or $2,000 a piece to make them, and I don't think they're going to be anywhere near that. You're still only talking, for 8 of them, $8,000 to $15,000. So it's not a huge amount of money to make the scoops, and that's all the oil drums would replace. The rest of it would have to be fabricated the normal way anyway. So no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to use custom-made scoops that I design and CAD up, and they're going to have their custom gearing and everything on them, and it's going to look nice. It's going to look professional, even though it's a prototype. So thank you. It is, and believe me, I know I'm the king of, how did I used to always say it? I'm the king of using things for purposes which they're not intended, because I've done it for 25 years. But no, in this case, we'd be going after the seed funding and sorry, there's a little gnat flying around, the money to get this going the right way so that people really start stopping and taking notice of what we're doing, and can feel confident that they've got something that they can sink their teeth into here. Sanjay, when you say, do I have some sort of business plan to show shareholders, the return that these early investors would get would be when that next round of seed funding triggers their convertible note into equity. They could cash out at that point. They could sell their shares once their convertible notes go into equity. Convertible notes are great because it gives you interest during the whole, let's say, 24-month period before those convertible notes mature. So you're gaining interest on your investment. If you put $1,000 in at 6% interest, now you've got $1,060 because of your interest. That actually 1,120. If I'm doing bad math again, I apologize. Someone can correct me. But I think 6% interest on $1,000 would be the equivalent of $1,120 after 2 years. So for that $1,000, now you get $1,120 of equity. Plus, on top of that, if we get a big investor that comes in for $10 million and buys into Harmony, now the company valuation jumps to $10 million. Your stock that you get is converted at a premium. So the cap that we would put on it would be, whatever, $2 million or something like that. So even though they're coming in with $10 million, you get your valuation of your shares at that cap of $2 million. So your investment of 1,000, we'll just do 1,000 times 1.06 to make sure. Yep, times 2 years. So you have 1,120 divided by whatever the cap is. Let's just say, for example, the cap was $2 million. You now would have a whole bunch more equity than you would have had otherwise, because you would get 0.00056% of the shares, the outstanding shares. Believe me when I say it's a lot more than you would have had the other way around, because normally that 1120 would be divided by 10 million, and you can see that 0.056. Let me see if I can do this. 56 divided by 0.000112, 5 times more. So you would literally get 5 times more equity by getting in early, getting in with the convertible note, because we would put the cap at something nice and reasonable, like $2 million, so that if someone comes in with a nice big investment, $10 million, let's say, you're capped off, and your equity fund that you put in this early round is only up against that $2 million cap, not against the $10 million or $15 million that some larger investor would come in at. So you're guaranteed to have a lot more shares going into it. And I'm not going to pretend to be a stock guru here, but I've watched the videos 4 times now, and it's amazing how the math works in your favor. If you want to go on to a good video to watch for exactly that description of how that works is right here. Giving you a glimpse into my crazy mind, all the videos I watch on stuff. Here it is. This guy, awesome video on exactly what I'm talking about. If you watch that video right there, seed funding for startups, I believe that was the one here. Might be this one. I'll put this one in. Those two are really good for describing in detail exactly what I'm talking about, why it's beneficial to get in to the early funding round for something like Harmony. Because if you believe in it and you see where this could go, a little bit of money early on can go an incredibly long way later on with the amount of equity you gain from that early funding round. Let me stop and read a few emails here, chat messages. Yeah, Sherry, and definitely rooftops are going to be key for once we're in production, but not for early testing. I mean, we don't want this hurting the house in any way. As we're testing things, maybe we underestimate the stress on it at a certain critical part. You know, we used a 1/2 inch shaft instead of a 3/4 inch shaft or something like that. Who knows? I don't want to have it wrecking my house or anyone's house who was kind enough to let me beta test. So early on, no, the early test models are going to probably be on a cement slab, 15, 16 feet off the ground. Nothing, too extravagant. They're just going to be high enough that it's not going to whack anyone in the head when it's spinning, but it'll be, low enough that we can still get to it and do things within reason for messing around with it or changing something if we decide, oh, we've found a better scoop design. Now we want to swap out the scoop designs. Well, I don't want to be tearing the whole thing down to do that. I just want to be able to get a bucket truck. We go in and we swap them out, and in a few hours we're done. So rooftop models absolutely will come into play later after we get through, a lot more R&D. And yeah, they are absolutely best for urban conditions. I would agree. Sanjay, yeah, there is going to be income and expenses that we're going to start gathering. We're going to be able to really zero in on how much these would start costing to produce them for real in production. We're going to start zeroing in on how much money you're going to be able to save on your electric bill based on how much they generate. We're going to start being able to get the power generation curves and what Harmony is truly capable of producing. We're going to be testing all different kinds of generators in them, and maybe if we get enough money, even our own generator design, and looking at that. Plus the intellectual property itself. The patent itself is probably worth millions. So you can't negate that fact. If the testing that we do starts to prove that Harmony is a superior producer, and it is not only a superior producer in low wind speeds and moderate wind speeds, but it now also has the protection of high wind speed, being able to furl up and control its diameter. Dude, that's a game changer. I mean, you're talking an absolute game changer right there. Now couple that with the fact that we've got our own proprietary generator model, our own proprietary and patented protected generator design. The patent itself, like I said, could be worth millions, just the intellectual property alone. And as we start going through that testing, that will be proven, it'll be vetted, and it'll be pretty much shown to the world. Bye, sweetie. Be careful. All right, love you. Sharian, computational fluid dynamics is absolutely awesome, but it's absolutely expensive. Unless you know somebody who knows somebody, you ain't getting it for cheap. So no, at this point, I haven't been able to do any CFD analysis because I don't have the money to do that. Once we get some funding, yeah, I'd love to do some CFD analysis to help us zero in on maybe optimizing the way our scoops are set up, or how they look, maybe changing their profile a little bit, whatever. There's lots of things we could change about it. But CFD costs money, and this seed round of funding is going to be a great way to get that. So good question, but it's a little bit further down the road. Hi, Frederick. How's it going? Yes, the IP will be included with this corporation. That's why I spun up Harmony Turbines LLC, because I'm going to assign the rights of the patent to this new corporation. So this LLC, Harmony Turbines LLC, is going to own all rights to the patent, both the patent for the turbine scoops and the generator, all wrapped into one bundle. So yeah, right off the bat, Harmony Turbines has probably several $1 million worth of IP built into it. I just have to prove that to the world. So we're going to get there. Don't worry. It's going to take you guys who have been watching this for 2 years to actually sit there and say, you know what? He has got a really, really awesome thing going there, and I'm going to invest in it. And that's all. You don't have to put a ton of money. You just have to get behind it and, put your money where your mouth is, or whatever the phrases are, belly up to the bar, whatever you want to say. All I'm looking for is some help from you guys who have been there for 2 years watching and learning and growing with me through this process. Now I'm looking to start getting the word out there, spreading the word, talking to people, having people understand what this is, and I'd love to start doing some interviews too, because I think that would really help to get the word out with Harmony even more than it is right now. Because I think we have a game changer here. I think we have the most disruptive technology that has ever been created to date for residential wind turbines. I do not think anything out there is going to be able to hold a candle to what Harmony can do once we get some money to start proving it. I just need some money to begin that process. And I think Start Engine is where it's at. BK. Well, you can send some money if you want to the Patreon link that I gave above. I don't have the startengine.com campaign up and running just yet, but if you guys are really excited about this and want to help, even right now with Patreon, I'll put that link up again. It's awesome what you're saying, and I love that people get excited about this. When I go out and talk to people, people tell me all the time they can literally see the excitement on my face and feel it vibrating out of me, because what I'm saying is, it's for real. It's not hocus pocus. It's not me trying to get rich quick. It's not any obfuscated, ugly scheme that's going to somehow turn me into a millionaire and leave all you guys destitute. This is a plan to help us, all of us, our friends, our family, our loved ones, to have a better, healthier life. And that's what it's all about. It's not about me, becoming a millionaire. That never, ever, ever was my dream. All I wanted to do was make enough money that I could continue doing clean energy research for the rest of my life. I want to stop working for a 9-to-5 job, and I want to plug myself into developing all kinds of wonderful technology to help our world become a better place. Harmony is the very, very first thing, the very little nugget, the snowball that I made, that I'm going to start rolling down the hill, and that's going to just keep growing and growing and growing and getting more and more and more momentum behind it. Because after Harmony, there is I just added 2 new inventions to my list over the past 2 days. I think my list is up to 71 now. I had been saying it was up around 83, but then I went back last 3 weeks ago and really pruned off some of the garbage. So we're down to about 71 really nice, viable projects that I could work on. And of course, we're not talking 71 harmonies. We're not talking that I have 71 amazing inventions like this. Dude, that would rock. No, I'm not that prolific yet. Maybe one day I'll get there, but I've got probably 15 really, really, really awesome ideas that are on the top of my list to do. Out of the 71, there's, you know, it's going to be some really, really awesome ones and some ones that you're like, I could take that or leave it. But I'm constantly adding to my list, and that's what's important. So Harmony is Harmony is definitely the first little snowball that I made at the top of this mountain, and I'm beginning to roll it down the hill now to see if I can really gain some momentum and some traction, and then start funding the rest of my life where I'm just developing technology and bringing it out. I think about Dyson or Tesla. Those companies started with a single idea and then grew and grew and grew. And that's what we're doing here. Except I'm not looking to become rich and powerful, some huge, billionaire like those. All right, I don't want to knock them. I can't say what their true motives are, but my motives aren't to become massively rich and powerful. It would be to make enough money that I can keep doing this again and again and again and keep bringing technology out that helps the world. And of course, along the way, that's going to take money to do it. So along the way, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people like yourself to invest and come on board and start realizing that dream along with me. I've done a lot more talking than I thought I would. I thought I'd be like in a quiet design session and just answering a few questions, but you guys are doing good, hitting me with good questions, and I don't know, I had a lot of energy, so I felt like chatting it up with you and seeing where it went. So startengine.com is a new website. They just really began, I think, mid-2016, and they've had a couple really nice successful projects that are starting to gain traction. So we're coming in at the right time, early in their process. They've got the kinks worked out, and I'm hoping that we can be one of their very successful seed campaigns, or crowdfunding for seed money, and then we'll move into crowdfunding for normal equity rounds and probably use them if they're continuing to be a good asset to work with. There's no reason that we wouldn't continue working with them. At this point, the sky's the limit. We're just starting down the process of, 4 months ago, I began the process of like, all right, how can I do this? How can I make this happen? Kickstarter, Indiegogo, that's not going to work. I thought maybe we could make a go of it, but making desktop models is just absolutely going to be a huge diversion of where I want it to be. This kind of crowdfunding for seed money is where it fits exactly with the business model that I was hoping to achieve. So it lets me continue working right on into the meaningful tech, the residential size, the recreational size, and getting the data out there in a meaningful way to you, the consumers, the supporters, the people that have been with me for the last 2 years. Okay, lots and lots of chatting. I'm going to shut up for right now. And yeah, David, I'm going to hire someone, probably part-time because we're just going to be little, to do the accounting and work with us on that stuff. So yeah, we're not going to be hiding anything. I'm going to be putting the data out there, but I think you're confusing. You don't really have financial statements early on in a seed startup. You're just in the R&D phase. It's after you start getting some sales that you would have those kind of financials that I think you're talking about. So maybe I'm confusing the matter. You can write me again and clarify with a new comment. But I think you're maybe getting the cart before the horse a little bit. This is a seed funding round to fund the initial early R&D and early prototype development for taking this to the next level, proving the performance, the characteristics of what Harmony can do, how we can optimize it and make it better, finding the correct sizes, the correct materials and thicknesses, and all of the things that go along with R&D. You can't just snap your fingers and be in production. This is not a we're raising money to go into production round. This is we're raising money to take this to the next level and start working on zeroing in on the residential size, prototype size that is, going to be required, the performance characteristics, how much power it can produce for the one I'm doing here. Here, I'll show you guys. The one I'm working on right now, you can see my scoop diameter is 36 inches. So that means When you're looking at this sideways, this will be probably about 6 feet. Well, not probably, it will be 6 feet tip to tip when it's opened fully. When it's fully unfurled, it would be about 6 feet tip to tip. That's pretty big when you think about it. And if the scoops are 36 inches in diameter, then I have the scoop height here under the calculated. I pretty much figured out long ago that I like the 1-to-2 ratio, so 36 inches for the diameter, 18 inches for the height. So if we have 1.5 feet high times 4 scoop pairs, we're looking at 6 feet tall. So it'd be 6 feet wide by 6 feet tall would be the swept area exposed to Harmony. Now, when you do calculations on something that is 6 feet tall by 6 feet wide, let me pull that over here. I believe might take me a minute to find the calculator I used, but I have the actual algorithms. Here we go. Well, they're talking radius, so right away they assume a horizontal axis vertical wind turbine, or horizontal axis turbine. What the heck? Good grief. Okay, yes. Crap, I don't want one that's like that. I want to be able to... I don't want to have to do calculations on the radius and convert that to height times width. I'm lazy right now. Here we go. Rotor diameter, again. All right, so .344. Wind speed, wow, 11 meters per second is really fast. That's like 22 miles an hour. Let's say 5 meters per second. That's close to 10 miles an hour wind. Air density, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Kinetic power, all right, Betz law limit. Okay, so you can really only supposedly produce up to like 59% potential, but there we go. So the one we're producing right now, the Harmony model size, residential size for outdoors that I'm designing right this minute, you can see right here, is going to have a max of about 2 kilowatts that it should be able to produce. If I am like way up there high with my percentage that I'm able to put out with Harmony, then we should be up around 2 kilowatts of power in a 10 mile an hour wind. That's pretty darn good, guys. 2 kilowatts in a 10 mile an hour wind for something that is 6 feet wide, 6 feet tall. And, you know, obviously you need it off the ground like 8 or 9 feet so you don't whack anyone in the head. So overall, you're talking like, let's say 10 feet off the ground and then 6 feet higher than that for the blades. So you're talking a maximum height of about 16 feet. Can you get 10 mile an hour winds at, 10 feet off the ground? Absolutely. Our area, not often, but yes, it does happen. Pennsylvania is not the best for wind power generation, at least not where I live, but there's going to definitely be opportunity for me to capture 10 mile an hour, 20 mile an hour wind speeds, no problem. And I'll be able to know if Harmony is producing those kind of power outputs or where we land in there. You know, maybe we're not going to be anywhere near 2 kilowatts. That doesn't mean that Harmony is producing badly. It could also mean that I've got, problems with the generator and the charge controller not being coupled correctly, or I shouldn't say coupled, paired correctly. So sizing the generator to the RPM range and everything that you're expecting is a big thing to play with too. So the really cool thing is I'm going to have 10 feet of dead space or 8 feet or whatever of dead space below my wind turbine here that I set up, below Harmony's scoops. That is opportunity, guys, because I can put below the blades all kinds of, I can come down. I saw a guy who had a universal joint out of a car coming down off, and it went over to the side where he had his generator mounted and all kinds of cool stuff. So we've got tons and tons of room in this next model that I'm designing to put generators or car alternators or all kinds of things underneath there and test different generator designs out, including our own if we get the money to do it. Like I said, I do plan on testing our own generator design. So David, chat with me offline about that. I'm not an accountant. I'm not someone who totally understands the whole ins and outs of how all of the investors want balance sheets and financial statements. I'm planning on learning as I go and, hiring people to help or contracting with people to help do this stuff correctly. But nothing is going to be hidden or under the table here. It's all going to be above board. So, Sharian, that what you're speaking about right there is one of the things that I kind of bump up against all the time from people that simply say it's known that vertical axis wind turbines have lesser efficiency because they're constantly fighting with the oncoming stream of air. What people aren't realizing is it's just like when you fight a war. The winners always write the history books. Right now, the horizontal axis wind turbine people out there are winning the war. And so they're writing the books. And they like to throw around all kinds of things like these are the laws of physics. You can't break the Betz limit and all this stuff. Everything that we have today, everything that we have, that is amazing, was at one time or another thought to be impossible. Now, I say that not to tell you that Harmony is doing something impossible. What I am saying is we have to open our minds here, people. We have to believe that there's a better way to do things. I don't think that we're going to be running into these incredibly horrible production ratios that they're talking about based on what I've already seen from Harmony. And not only that, but I've gotten performance data back from 2 different locations, one of them a university overseas, who has tested Harmony now for 2 years in their own little wind tunnel, their own little 3D printed models of it, and it's blown the socks off of anything they ever saw before. They were testing Harmony, and it was showing over 51% efficiency. And as soon as they wrote to me and showed me their setup, I was like, guys, you did this and this and this wrong. If you fix this, you'll have even better production. They were showing 51% efficiency in 3 meter per second winds for Harmony. Okay? I'm not saying I'm standing behind that data right now because I can't stand behind any data. I don't have any data to prove. I'm hoping that this funding gets me to the point where I can prove the data and I can start saying to you guys, hey, we're out here right now. Take a look at this wind speed. You're, 12 miles an hour wind. And guess what, guys? We are producing in this 12 mile an hour wind, 2 kilowatts, 2,000 watts of power right now, right here, right now. That's the kind of data that it's going to be irrefutable. Once we start getting these out there and start putting them out and they're performing, I don't care what kind of algorithm you throw at me. If the real true data out in the field is showing you something, then what that means is they will go back and find their mistakes in the calculations and why their calculations were wrong. And, oh, we were right the whole time. We just didn't account for this or that. So then they change crap and make it sound like they were never wrong in the first place when they were pretty much flat on their face wrong. But the scientists all love to act like they know what they're talking about when it fits their business model that they currently have. And right now, horizontal axis wind turbines are ruling the day because that's what's out there. That's all you have. That's the only choice you have. But if we start proving that there's other better ways to do it, then the rule books will change, the algorithms will change, or they'll be adjusted, or they'll be amended to account for these situations that weren't thought of before. Whatever it is, they find a way to work it in, to say, okay, well, now this is normally how it works, but in these circumstances, then it's different. Well, I think Harmony is going to prove to everyone that you don't have to be a horizontal wind turbine to produce a really, really, really nice amount of power for a residential size home. I'm not going to sit here and compare it to 300-foot tall behemoths that are out there. I'm not going to do that. I'm working in the residential realm, and that's where I plan on doing my testing and my validation of data. If people want to come in, companies want to come in and start licensing it to make larger ones, we'll have that discussion at that time. But, it goes back to my thing in the beginning. I don't want these to be some massive behemoths that we have to put 10 miles out away from us because we can't stand the noise and the vibrations and the problems they're causing and let the poor animals deal with it. I don't want that. Harmony should be something that is harmonious with our environment. That's why I named it Harmony. All right, so Sharian, yeah, you're talking about old paradigms, old understandings, things that have been written already, and they try and tout that as the laws of physics and the laws of, this and that. But really, as soon as someone comes along and proves that something else can be done, what do? They go and change all the books to account for this new knowledge. And, it even happens in religion all the time. Oh, we have new knowledge now. Okay, whatever. I don't even get into that stuff. I get my hands dirty, I build, and I prove what I'm doing, and I keep moving forward. That's how I operate. And if you like that model, if you feel that that's something you can get behind, then we're on the same page. And at that point, it's one of those things where you have to, at some point, have some faith in what you believe in, or you just get away from it. And if you don't have the faith to continue following and believing in it, then that's no problem. You and I can part ways. I'm not talking to you, Sherry, and I mean anyone. We can part ways, and that's fine. You have your own path to follow, and I have my own path to follow. But if you believe in what I'm doing, then guys, we've got something here that's never been done before. I'll show you something. I will have to. Sorry, I keep looking down because my screen is in the way. I accidentally got out of my on shape. That was weird. Okay. Oh, there it is. Not my screen, my camera is in the way, and I can't see the upper corner. Let's see. I'll show you this one because I don't have my other one far enough along. What we have here with Harmony is the ability. Let me lock the. So right now it's about 50% opened. Okay, when it's fully open, it's like that. But if you're looking at the profile of wind that this can capture, in the new model, I've done away with this thing right here that I'm highlighting in orange, so that leading edge sort of barrier is gone. And when everyone says, oh, you've got this huge scoop coming into the oncoming wind, not really. When you look at it from the top, if you look at just a scoop pair from the top down for Harmony, if that front shield is gone, and I've done away with this front shield in the new model, if that front shield is gone, then really what you have here, if you think about this, from this center point of this scoop here, over all the way to this tail, it's like this becomes one big scoop here, one very large scoop, because the air coming in is going to hit that center point, and some of it's going to go this way, and some of it's going to go that way. So your air hitting this and being pushed this way, yeah, there will be a little bit of resistance there, but it's going to be pushed into that scoop. So I would argue right off the bat with Harmony's design that you don't have this full scoop posing an obstruction to oncoming wind. Really, what you've done is increase the size of that scoop that's capturing the wind by half of the diameter of the other scoop that's coming into the wind. So again, you have your air. If you guys, hopefully you can see my mouse moving around. Yeah, you can. You have the air coming, and as it hits this, when it hits here, some of it's going to go bleed off that way and do nothing, absolutely. But the other air that hits here and comes this way, that's going to be pushed into this scoop, into this pocket. Now, I think right away that's going to help with things. If you have Harmony furled up a little bit, now what you have to understand is you've got even more of that going on. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to spin this around the way I want. Even easier for when it hits to be shoved into this back pocket here. Additionally, the air coming into this pocket, because this front shield is missing, is going to be coming into this pocket and then shooting around. It comes into this pocket and shoots around to this pocket, and it's going to start sort of getting blown right out the back here. So you've got accelerated wind coming out the back of it, which is helping to push that blade forward. So you've got several things going on here that, you know, I'm not going to sit here and argue the physics of it because I'm not a physicist. I'm not going to tell you this is how it should work or whatever. These are just ideas that I have from observations of what I believe Harmony is going to do. Furthermore, what I do believe is going to happen is that we're not going to be maximum efficiency here, totally open all the time. I think there's going to be sweet spots. And as we start doing the calculations and testing, we're going to find, for this early prototype, it's going to be on a seek routine. It's always going to be hunting. It's going to open up a little and close up a little and open up a little more and close up a little bit more. It's going to be looking for the maximum production in given wind speeds. So when we have fairly constant 10-mile-an-hour wind or 8-mile-an-hour wind, it's going to be slowly opening and closing and charting that data. And charting that through Arduino and Raspberry Pi onboard computers so that we can then look at the data and analyze and be like, oh my gosh, you know, if we're just 80% opened, maybe right there in a 10-mile-an-hour wind, we're more efficient like that than we are 100% opened. Or maybe 70% open, we're more efficient in that mile-an-hour wind. And then when we go up to a 12-mile-an-hour wind, maybe it can be slightly more closed. A 15-mile-an-hour wind, slightly more closed. Who knows? I think we're going to find that the benefits of Harmony being able to change its diameter. Changing its diameter is key here. You're really affecting, if you squeeze the diameter, your height can't change. That's set. That's going to be 6 feet in this model all the time. But it will be able to go from 3 feet in diameter, totally closed, all the way out to 6 feet in diameter, totally open. Okay, and no other wind turbine that I know of can drastically change its swept area like Harmony can. No other turbine out there. We've got the patent on it. So by it altering that every time you decrease the diameter in the x-axis, now you're increasing efficiency higher and higher and higher. So even if you're not making a single drop more power, by just decreasing the diameter, your calculation or your efficiency of this turbine has just gone up. So I think we're gonna blow the socks off of some, you know, books somewhere with what this little turbine is going to be able to do. I just need the support to be able to prove it. Hobart, Tasmania. I love it. Thank you, Gary. Does that make sense, guys, what I'm kind of saying about this? You know, it's all also leading into the conservation of energy or conservation of matter, whatever, where, you know, you have a ballerina out there spinning on the ice or an ice skater spinning on the ice and they bring their arms and legs in, they go faster and faster and faster. That same thing's going to happen with Harmony. We're bringing our tips in a little bit, which increases efficiency and allows it to increase RPMs. Well, if you increase RPMs, now you're going to get more power out. So it is really, really exciting. I think, if truth be told, when people start seeing what we're doing with this, some of the big companies are going to get scared, very scared, because what we have here, what the potential, if they look at it and they're engineers and they're looking at it, some of them are going to be just a bunch of jerks and be like, it's vertical axis, it's bullcrap. Others who look at it with an open mind will be like, holy crap, what he's saying could be huge. And the models to produce it in CFD, computational fluid dynamics, could prove out a lot of what I'm saying, but it's expensive. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. It's going to be a lot easier for me to just make it and get it out there and get it, spinning in the wind and start gathering the data. Because CFD is great, but when you go out for big investment and big money, I think people are going to be a lot more apt to invest in something that's physically sitting out there that they can touch, feel, and look at, rather than just, oh, here's our nice, pretty computer model, and it should work according to this. Let's prove it. Let's do it for real. Let's get our hands dirty and prove it to the world. And then see who wants to sit there and dispute or do calculations why we're full of crap. There's this guy, Craig something or other. Oh my gosh, I can't stand reading some of his stuff. He goes out there and tries to, he pulls out the comments that people make on YouTube and Facebook, and sits there and posts his reply on his website so that you're driven to his website just to read his reply, and then he tries to pick it all apart. It'll be really funny. I know, he acts like he's this guy doing, oh, buyer beware and all this. Craig, sorry, buddy. I'm not selling anything at this point. I'm discussing what I feel the, operational characteristics of my turbine are going to be. And I'm asking people who believe in that to also, allow them to get behind this idea. It's, at any rate, one of these days I'd love to be able to see him eating crow on a lot of the things that he said in my one post 6 months or so ago. It was really annoying. It was just basically touting off and spouting about all the old VAWT calculations that are out there. It's known that this and that. I'm sorry. We don't know anything. We're ants scrabbling around on a big, huge boulder. We don't know squat. And that's the truth. Anyone who thinks that they're arrogant enough to believe we know the laws of physics and we know the laws of thermodynamics and we know all this amazing stuff, we don't. We are just taking stabs in the dark and best guesses. And as we grow in our humility and we stay humble and learn, then we can achieve some amazing things. But the arrogance of the human race right now is stifling. In many, many ways, it's the biggest hindrance to progress that we have, because people are so arrogant with what they think they know. We need to start getting out there and making the world a better place and stop criticizing every attempt at that dream becoming a reality. Anyway, okay, sorry. How many soapboxes do I get for each of these live streams? Couple, right? So that's where it's at, guys, and I think that's why we've got something that's going to be amazing here. And I'm not even sitting here talking about the generator and why that's going to be amazing, but on top of that, our generator design is going to be sort of custom built to work hand in hand with what Harmony can do here, so with what the scoops can do. Let me read a few of these comments here. Frederick, so if you're a power engineer up there in Canada and it's actually making sense to you, that's very encouraging, because I'm not sitting here, saying this is how it's going to work. I'm saying this is how I think it could work, and I'd love to prove it. Give me that chance, please, to prove it. That's all I'm asking. I think humanity forgets to say please so many times. You watch TV, no one ever says please. They always say, you have to help me with this or whatever. I'm saying please all the time. Please just give me a chance to prove what I have is good. And that's all. That's all I want. Give me a fair shake, a fair swing at bat, whatever you want to say. Please let me try to help make the world a better place. That's it. I think I've done enough to prove that, I've got honest intentions and I've got the fortitude and stick-to-itiveness to see this through. Yes, it's been a long road getting here, but I'm asking for your help to please help make that a reality. And that's all. That's really all it comes down to. Let me read a few of these here. Thank you, Sherry, and that's really cool to hear that you're going down the same road in research. So maybe we can make your thesis really, really cool if we start getting some amazing data. Wouldn't that be awesome? I don't know when your thesis is due. Maybe our data is going to come in too late to help you. But if we can develop Harmony in tandem with when you're writing your thesis and when the data coming in from Harmony is pertinent to your thesis, that would be really neat. Thank you, BK. I agree. It is a passion, not necessarily a soapbox. Yeah, Frederick, awesome. That's very well said. Because our arrogance and greed is what holds us back from so many amazing things, and it's sickening. We just have to start understanding that what we know is minuscule. What we could learn and what we could achieve together is absolutely monumental. We just have to start getting behind the business models that are going to enable life as we know it to change into something better than it is today. A paradigm shift, a disruptive technology, whatever you want to call it. I think Harmony is that vehicle for us. And I intend on seeing it through, good or bad. I'm going to publish what it's doing. I'm going to post it out there, and we're going to take the journey together as we always have done. Nathaniel, nice to see you. All right, guys. So, questions. Who has questions? I'm not super good at answering the financial crap, so I shouldn't call it crap. I'm sorry. The financial statements and things like that. I'm not good with all of that knowledge. I'm going to be very careful with how I do it and trust the organizations that I partner with to help lead me through it in the correct manner. So, I'm not going to go into this blind and just be like, oh, wow, I got all this money. Great. Now I can go blow it. Guys, if you were following my project from 2 years ago, I got $10,000 from Ben Franklin. That $10,000 that I got from Ben Franklin, if any of you were watching what I did with that, I took that and turned it into the equivalent of $50,000 or $60,000. I was buying pieces and parts to fix and repair and improve my existing machines that I had that were 1984 tree milling machine, my lathe, my mill. I was getting taps and die sets, and I was getting pieces and parts and putting together the systems that let me then buy raw materials, the plastics and the metals that I needed, and machine my own parts. I took that $10,000 and turned it into easily what would have been $60,000 of funding if I had just gone out and bought these parts and those parts and had these machined and those machined and these fabricated for me and those fabricated. I took that money and turned it into a hell of a lot more than what the $10,000 would normally get. I will do that same thing with the higher amount of funding I'm hoping to garner from this endeavor. So you don't have to worry about your money being squandered on foolish things. It's going to be put to really, really good use. And I've been living on a shoestring budget for so long and doing things on a shoestring budget for so long that I've gotten very good at figuring out ways of doing things in an economical manner. So you don't have to worry. Your money's going to one of the best causes you could ever hope it go to. I just hope we get enough people. That's where I'm going to be counting on you guys to help spread the word, to start. I'm not like a Facebook mogul. I'm definitely not an Instagram person and TikTok and all those other things. I don't know squat about that. So I'm hoping some of you guys are like really good with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all that crap and can help start getting the word out, because I think that's going to make a huge difference. If we can really start getting out there and spreading the word about what we're doing here, we could make this seed funding campaign a phenomenal success and kick things off right. So that would be awesome. It would be what I'd hope to see happen, and we just have to wait and see. It's a couple of weeks here. I should have at least it won't even be like a week, I'll have my paperwork back from the state and everything will be finalized there. Then I can start working in earnest on getting the crowdfunding campaign from Start Engine up and running properly. So Start Engine is a great platform, and I hope that they see the value in my project and get behind it and allow me to do my seed funding round on there. I don't see any indications that what I'm trying to do is anything different than all the other projects that have been successfully funded on their site. So I think we have a really good shot at making a huge success of this. It's just going to be how much can we get the word out? How many people can we spread the word to help get the interest and help things go viral, whatever it is, whatever the catchphrases are. I'd like to see if we can do that. Oh, BK, the seed round isn't going to start right away. I need, probably a couple weeks before I can get the paperwork. There's like a lot of stuff that I have to go through and questions, and probably going to have to email them here and there for things that I don't understand. But I'd say it'll certainly be a few weeks before the seed round will begin. You'll see it out there, and I'll post things on YouTube. So if you're subscribed, guys, subscribe. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified when I'm doing more updates. And can you imagine how many updates I'll be doing if I'm like not working a full-time job? My gosh, my throat will be raw from talking so much. But at any rate, I think it'll be really neat, a fun journey to experience together. You're absolutely right. You need to start somewhere, BK, and that initial funding is critical. So it's the people that believe in this project and have been there from the beginning that I'm hoping will shine through and really start to show that they're getting behind this project with some seed money and helping to kick this off the right way. I just watched that Down to Earth last night for the first time. I watched about 3/4 of the first episode, and I do plan on watching more episodes. Oh, well, are they still making that show? I only watched like 3/4 of the first one, so that would be cool. Yeah, I'd love to be on their show because it fits right in with what they're doing. That would be pretty awesome, actually. It's funny that I watched that last night for the first time, and you mentioned it right now. They were like out in Iceland and going into the hot springs and doing the cold dip, then the hot dip and chocolate factory, and it was neat. Really, really cool. I love anything dealing with clean energy tech, so I watch all kinds of things. All right, at this point, I don't want to make this really long, guys. I just wanted to talk to you and say where things are going and what we're going to be up to, and really watch for some neat new updates coming out very soon. Harmony Turbines LLC is a thing now. It is registered. I'm just waiting for the paperwork to return. And harmonyturbines.com will be repointed to be the same page probably as my harmonyvawt.com. Maybe later we'll start separating it off as things get more and more, but that will also, the harmonyturbines.com domain will be wrapped into the same LLC, and the ownership of it will be with the company and everything. So it's, at this point, it's really like I felt 2 years ago that I began this journey, but it's almost like I feel as though this next few weeks, the journey is really beginning. It's kind of crazy. I don't know how I can even say that with a straight face, but it sort of feels that way. As he got patented. Charian, what do you mean about as I got patented, can I try publishing a paper and get it reviewed? I'm sorry. I can only hold so much information in my brain, and that I know that people do peer reviews and things all the time for science theories and things like that, but I didn't know that patents got peer reviewed, and I'm not really sure where you're going with that. Like, you know, calculus and mathematics and higher physics and things, they'll do all kinds of peer review papers and write-ups, and you read about that happening all the time. But it sounds like you're saying something similar can happen with patents, and I was not aware of that. Yeah, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Maybe you're talking about something for your thesis there. When is your thesis due, Sharon? It's okay, BK. I'm not taking offense to anything he's saying. Ooh, September. I'm sorry. It's probably not going to be. We're not going to be anywhere near producing the data that you'd like to have by September. I want to be realistic. You know, this process with startengine.com is probably going to only kick off, even if I move at a really, really rapid pace and get the campaign kicked off as quickly as possible. We're still talking, it's mid-July right now. I can't imagine I'd be able to kick my campaign off before like the second week of August. Maybe we could do it in the beginning of August, but then, you know, even if we have a whole month that we go and we get the funding that we want, we hit our target, everything's beautiful, I still then need to get that money. I need to go out and, you know, get things squared away with the township. And if they say no, then I need to find a new location to construct this, because really the beginning of this is going to be constructing the frame and getting Harmony put up there. Things I've already done 3 or 4 times in miniature. Well, my one that's 5 feet tall isn't miniature. That's pretty big. But we're talking bigger now. So the beginning of this is going to be building that, and I need a place to build it. I can't just build it in my basement and take it somewhere. So September is going to be way too soon. I don't think we're going to be anywhere near close to having data that you want to help you in earnest with your thesis at that point. So I am sorry about that. I think what he was saying, BK, is that he was wanting me to get my patent somehow peer reviewed, but I don't know how to do that. So Sharian, if I'm understanding you correctly, maybe you can email me with what you mean, because I'm unfamiliar with that process, if that's what you meant. Tom, how are you? Where are you from, Tom? Tom Norman. What time is it here, guys? I promised my wife I'd make salad for dinner here tonight. 6:30. I think she said she's going to be home around 7. I'm probably going to wrap this live stream up here in a few minutes. So if there's any remaining questions that I haven't already answered, if there's any thing I can help you guys understand here in the last few minutes, I'm happy to do that. A lot of these things are funny because I talk and talk and talk, but it's tough because you guys are delayed when you write to me, so I have to just be patient. Plus my throat gets a little raw talking so much. It's kind of weird. Maybe because I'm talking louder than I would normally talk. Thank you, Gary. I'll be looking forward to the data just like you, but I have to build it. It's like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. If I build it, the data will come. My biggest problem with the model that I had built, the first, the white one, I built it with the idea that I could take it with me and go places and test it, but what I didn't understand is there is a huge amount of I won't say trial and error. There's probably a lot of science behind it. Coupling the correct generator with your turbine is huge. It's absolutely huge. You need the right coupling between your generator and your turbine to get maximum power. Excuse me. And if you don't have the right coupling between them, the right, ratio of 1 turn on your turbine might be 4 turns on the generator, or the one that I had was 1-to-1, and it was an unproven generator that that Missouri Wind and Solar sent me. They were extremely kind and said, "Hey, we'd love you to test this out, give it a try, see how it does." But they didn't even know really what its expected operating parameters would be. When I hooked that thing up to my drill, just up to my drill, where I could go from 0 RPM all the way up to 3,000 RPM, it was making such a wide range of power. It was like crazy. I was getting, like at 10 RPMs, maybe 5 or 6 volts or something like that. But then as soon as I got up to 100 RPMs, it was making like 60 and 70 volts. And that's enormous. That range is just so enormous that I would have to, it's like mind-boggling. I'm going to hire someone to help me with that who's like an electrical engineer or something, so that we can really zero in on getting good data, getting a good proper coupling between the wind turbines and the generator. I was reading on the one website for another vertical axis wind turbine group that was over in Europe. They were also having this same exact problem. Like, you can't just go out and buy a generator, stick it on the thing, and have it work. It's, you've got to have the really, really careful consideration done for coupling the proper generator with your wind turbine to operate in the expected range. Or if your range of operation is going to be really wide, then you need a charge controller that can take that massively wide, 10 volts all the way up to 400 volts and do something useful with it, because that's huge too. That voltage range is just absolutely ginormous. Your computer and your lights and your refrigerator and everything you use in your house operates on a wee tiny, tiny, tiny little, like 1% variation, and you see your lights flicker. You hear your compressor and your refrigerator stutter and stuff if there's just a tiny little variance in that. Well, here with this, with the generators that you're hooking onto a wind turbine, you get a massive swing from the beginning starting speeds all the way to the higher end speeds, and we've got to figure out how to properly use that and sequester that electricity in a way that we can, put it to use, put it into a battery bank or put it into a grid tie inverter, whatever. But the generation ranges, the range of power that we receive from these huge variations, low to high, it's enormous, and it's not a trivial problem. Let me tell you, it's definitely not a trivial problem. So the little model that was 5 feet tall, the very first prototype that I made that was mobile, the white one, I had only like 6 inches of room down below my turbine scoops to try and mount generators and stuff like that, and it just wasn't practical. With all that I would have to do, in some cases I'd have to have a pulley system or maybe a chain drive system or whatever to get different gear ratios and stuff like that. It was just absolutely mind-numbing trying to think of how I was going to mount all these different generator test generators in here where I had like no room. It's like trying to work inside of under the hood of a modern car. There's just no room anywhere. You've got to rip this and that out just to get to where you need to get. And it's crazy. So by doing the new model that we're talking about, that's going to be 8 feet off the ground or 10 feet off the ground before the scoops even begin, so that it doesn't hit anyone in the head, that gives us a huge amount of space down below. So what I'm envisioning, if you can follow me with this train of thought, is we have a generator A, that we're going to test with Harmony, and its specs are good for the operating ranges and the RPM ranges that we're looking, and the torque and the output that we're looking to get. So we then would hook this in to Harmony via whatever simple method we can do. And I keep coming back to the guy who did the universal joint from the underside of a car. He had it coming down off the main drive shaft over to the side a little bit and plugged down into his generator. It was freaking fantastic. I loved it. Kudos to you, whoever he was. I forget his name. Awesome. Awesome idea. I may in fact borrow that idea for, some of the testing we're going to do, because then when you come over to the side, I can have a generator pod or pack down there where I have different gear ratios that I can easily switch out and try, and just all sorts of wonderful, wonderful space to actually work, and elbow room to make changes, modifications, and within 20 minutes you could change the gear ratio, or 10 minutes you could change the gear ratio from one thing to something totally different. And that guys is worth gold, let me tell you, because I can't do that with the model that's down the basement right now, with that little 5-foot tall model. I can't go and easily change out and switch out that generator for another design. It's just very impractical, way too much. That compact space that's there is just not going to work for doing that kind of prototyping and R&D. So this new outdoor design that we're going to have, it's going to be perfect, because I can do that all day long, every day of the week. I can swap out all kinds of generators and do all kinds of testing, and it's going to be amazing. I'm just reading a few of the comments here, so sorry. Gary, I love that you're from Tasmania. That's awesome. I used to watch, what was it? Was it Bugs Bunny that had the Tasmanian Devil? I can't remember, but anyway, that's cool. Okay. Sorry, I was catching up to some banter going back and forth between BK and Cherian, and then I saw Cherian say, he's saying, write another journal about my work and publish it on research sites. Cherian, email me. Email me what you're talking about, because I'm not sure I want to invest a ton of time into writing a journal. That's what I've built with my my whole YouTube site is a living journal of the whole process. So I'm not sure I'm into going back and writing kind of like a little short story about my whole journey. But maybe I'd have, if someone wanted to interview me and do that kind of thing, I'd certainly let them do that. I've got a lot more things that I want to do with my time than I'm not a person who I believe would want to sit down and write a journal about my whole experience, because I've kind of lived it and done it for the past 2 years live and up front on YouTube. So hopefully that doesn't come across as a negative thing I'm saying. Your idea might be great. I'm just not necessarily the kind of person to get behind writing a journal about myself. Here is my email address. And you can certainly give me some examples of what you're talking about there if you want. There's my email. Hi, Ari. How's it going? Oh, the model here that's nothing. This is just the existing one that I already have, the acrylic model. I was working on my newer one, I didn't get very far. I thought I'd have a more interactive design session, but here's the newer model that I'm starting now for the outdoor prototype. It is 3 feet tip to tip, 36 inches. So like I was telling people earlier, when it's fully opened, it will be about 6 feet wide and 6 feet tall for the swept area. So I'm not sure I would want Elon to buy Harmony, because do you guys really trust that he would do the right things with it? I mean, really? Come on. Or is he just like all about making tons of money? I don't know. Personally, I don't know. I would enjoy meeting the guy. I'd love to work with him, but I'm not sure I'd want him to just outright say, "Hey, Chris, we're going to give you $10 million and buy your invention." I kind of want to make sure it gets out there to the public in a way that everyone can use and everyone can enjoy, and everyone, all the creatures of the planet, can enjoy the benefits of it. Or NASA, I like it. Yeah, NASA, I don't think NASA's got their heart in the right place. I don't think they have had it in the right place for 15 years, or 50 years. So, anyway, all right, guys, it is dangerously close to 7 o'clock, and I think my wife's going to be home soon. So I'm going to probably go make some salad. We're just starting to get tomatoes out of the garden. We've been getting cucumbers now for weeks. Amazing cucumbers and zucchini, but the tomatoes are just finally starting to come on, and I love summer salads with lots of tomatoes and cucumbers in them. Tiny harmonies in the rear, under the rear spoiler. The rear spoiler of what? The NASA... Oh, rear spoiler of a car, you mean? Oh my god. I won't get into that, Frederick. But it's a cute idea. Is the tiny gear the controller? Oh, no. Ari, this is just the very, very beginning of the design process. I didn't get very far because I've been talking way too much. I thought I'd be doing more designing and less talking, but I was full of hot air tonight. So this will all be built up. That gear is just the furling gear. It's the same that you've seen in, if you've watched the other videos of the white Harmony, 5-foot tall Harmony that I'm putting together many, many times in front of the camera and showing that being put together. That furling gear is what controls the furling of the scoops. That's all. Frederick, I like how you're thinking, though. It's pretty cool. And putting a couple of them back there for a conversation piece would be awesome, but I'm not sure you'd make any appreciable energy with them, or the energy you lose from your gas or your electric motor would offset what you're gaining from them spinning. So it wouldn't be a net gain, but it would be neat to have back there. Yeah, solar company might be able to help. Area, I don't know, but I think we're gonna take this journey, these first few steps successfully here. Hopefully get the funding we need and move forward. So, Edwin, how are you? Northern Arizona. I would love to go there someday. I'll come out and shake your hand. Yeah, Edwin, you might have joined late, but I was saying I'll probably have that in the seed investment portfolio, where if you invest with a high enough amount, it would secure you as a potential beta site here for us to put, after we get a few of the kinks worked out and we start getting into very, very low volume production for just beta test sites and verification of the data and performance. Obviously we need to put them out in some places to verify their performance. Those people who invest more significant amount of money would probably be able to secure a spot to do that. I am not looking to take the company into full production mode and everything. I would license it off before that. What I'm doing with this seed round and the early funding is getting the prototype proven, proving the data, proving the performance, and getting the intellectual property and the value of what Harmony is out there to the public, so that we can then put it in the hands of the right kind of company to take it to the next level. That's what I'm after. I don't want to be making Harmony turbines for the next 10 years. That's not where I'm going with it. And I've said that before. I want to move on to other things, but I have to do, maybe a year or two of good work, proving it and getting it to the point where now I can sell it to a company that I trust, who's going to be able to take it to the next level. We'll work that into the deal. We'll make sure that they've understand they need to get this out into the public, and you know, the price needs to be fair. It can't be they're in it just for the money. It needs to be a company that's in it to get the technology out there to help make a difference. That's the real goal. Area that earlier when I was doing a calculation, I was saying a swept area of 6 by 6, which is the unit that I'm going to be producing out there now, should theoretically be able to produce up to about 2 kilowatts of power in a 10-mile-an-hour wind. So in a 10-mile-an-hour wind, if you've got average of 10-mile-an-hour winds or better, you'd be looking at, with a model as big as what I'm going to do for the next outdoor unit, 6 feet tall by 6 feet wide, you'd be looking at 2 kilowatts of power maximum that it should be able to produce in a 10-mile-an-hour wind. Now, where Harmony falls in actual production, that remains to be seen. Obviously, we haven't built it yet, we haven't put it out there, we haven't started doing testing, but it's going to be an exciting journey as we begin doing the testing and finding out how well it produces. So, you know, stay tuned. I can't answer that question. And when you say a medium-sized, you know, what does that mean? Is the white one that I built what you would consider medium size, and the one that I'm proposing building now what you would consider full size or large size? So, you know, your question is a little open-ended there. All right, guys, my throat is really starting to hurt, so I'm going to log off here. I'm going to go make dinner. Thank you all for joining. Email me if you have questions. If you again, want to support us on Patreon before the crowdfunding opens up, there's our Patreon link. As always, I very much enjoyed the time you took to spend with me tonight, and thank you for everything. Look for more updates as they come out, and as we keep walking one step closer and closer to the goal here of getting Harmony out there for the world. Thank you, Sharian. And I do want to see a copy of this thesis. Don't you forget about sending me that, buddy. I mean it. All right, guys. Take care. Be good. Be safe. And stay tuned for more updates coming same bat time, same bat channel, whatever the saying is. No, at any rate. I'll be putting updates out regularly here. Oh. Hi, Sickman. Or Dwayne. Yeah, I guess Dwayne is your first name. Nice to meet you. Awesome. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and welcome aboard. I have about 100 videos of the past 2 years of data that I've been doing and my build and everything, and you're coming in right now as I'm just about to start the first round of seed funding with startengine.com. So, Dwayne, you're coming in at a pretty exciting time, and you've got plenty of binge watching to do if you want to sit there and watch a lot of the other early videos where I was building and working on the prototypes. So welcome aboard. Happy to have you. And hopefully you guys pass the word and subscribe, and we can take the next few steps here together in the wonderful world of seed funding. It sounds exciting and scary at the same time. All right. I will talk to you guys later. Take care.